Hello, welcome to episode 110 in this series where I'm programming an NES game from scratch. In the last episode, we were working on the repeat scrolling mode, which allowed us to have repeating meta tiles over a period of time. And then we wanted to make that transition between the repeat meta tile mode and the map display. We got that working. But discovered that the transition from the repeat scrolling mode to the map mode caused a problem with the background update not working 100% correct and the attributes not being updated 100% correct. And it's misalignment, it looks like, with the way that we're doing the updates and the scrolling. So let's take a quick look at that and then get into fixing it. We had also changed this load level subroutine to load the level information and be able to do so in a way that when you're coming in from scrolling rather than starting the game from scratch or starting a new level, it doesn't fully populate the whole screen. So if we go to this... actually, one other thing I want to adjust before we start. When we transition, we set the camera mode to, camera position to a value that determines when we switch back to the map mode. Let's fix that because it's pretty long, and last time I was manually messing with that. So, all right, we're in 4,000 times mode here. So let's also open the PPU viewer and take a look at what's going on. So right now we're in the repeat scrolling mode and we're updating with the meta tile that we are repeating, and hopefully soon. Let's see if I can bring up the script before we hit that point. Yeah, so the camera position is counting down and we'll get to a point where we go back to loading the map once the camera position hits 0 again. That filter has nothing for me yet. Okay, so now we're loading the map, and you can see that we have the map is in the right place, but the attribute index was off. Drop the controller. The attribute index was off by 1. It also looks like we updated. The screen memory. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we are updating. Yeah, I wonder if the screen memory is 1 too early. And we'll know in a moment when we rewind backwards and take a look at what the tiles look like before we do the switch. Okay, so we're not actually updating that tile row, it looks like. Wonder if we should... wonder if we should do the same thing we're doing here, where we're checking, instead of 0000 for the camera, we check FFFF. To ensure we get the whole display of the meta tile happening properly. So let's take a look at this here. Load A, decrement, set the carry, subtract carry. Okay, so that's fine. We then go to repeat scroll if it's not. And let's see, compare, let's do this. So it's going to compare it to FFFF, and then if we hit that, then we will switch to load level. That might be the better option here under the circumstances. Let's just do ludicrous speed. We could probably still even lower that camera value so that the transition doesn't take this long. I sort of don't mind. I kind of want it to be somewhat realistic in that it's going to show, you know, the behavior if we load a bunch of meta tiles and then switch. I don't want to have too much of an edge case programmed here. It's still doing the same thing. It's just off by... No, it's the same. Why is that? Where's my code? Thought we were... Let's see. Oops, not that. This. So we're here. Yeah, so we're checking FF. And then we're comparing that. Alright, so it's not going to be that quite that straightforward. Let's see what happens when we get to that point. What's actually going on. Alright, so what is the PPU looks like this. So we're at the point where it's kind of annoying. The breakpoint triggers in a weird spot. I mean, I know we're rewinding, so it's probably a little bit tricky to make that work properly, but still. All right, so let's take a look. We've got half the meta tile loaded. If we weren't doing this, camera's at 0. We've decremented it. I mean, what we can try... If we hadn't done that, then we would have looked at scroll Y, which is BC. And that is 188. And let's see, 124. It's not a, right? It's not a factor of 8. Decimal. Wait. Yeah, so that's not an even multiple of 8. That's what I thought. So that would have been at the point where the camera was 0, right? Because instead of BC, it would have been B. It would have been BB, right? Not scientific. Programmer, please. No, that's weird. That's not... we're subtracting. B, it would have been BD. It's still not a factor of 8, so why? Is it because the camera and the... You know, that's possible. I wonder if we have to initialize the camera to a factor of 8 for this to work properly. 1B0 is 432. Well, that is a factor of 8, isn't it? 432. 432 divided by 8. 54, so that is a factor of 8. So why are we seeing that? Is it because the scroll position, the scroll Y position is not at a factor of 8 when this occurs? So this is what I was talking about last time, where I thought that something was out of sync, just kind of in general. I'm wondering if this is it, but let's take a look, because I'm not 100% sure. It could totally be not this, but... So this is where we're setting the camera position. And let's take a look at scroll Y. At that position in the game. Sorry, at that position in the code while the game is running. Where's my script runner? I want that running. Okay. Just let that loop through. Okay, so scroll Y is 8F, which is definitely not a factor of 8, right? Correct. So now this is because camera FFFF. I would imagine that this is because of this check also being FFFF. Or was that the one I just changed? No, so that wasn't the one I just changed. Let's rebuild this. I'm not sure why I was doing it that way. You know, you just make decisions like that sometimes, and they seem okay, and then turns out they're not so okay. So 90 is a more reasonable value. I think the reason that I chose FFFF for checking the camera was because I wanted to make sure that this metatile piece loads. I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to check the state transition after we update the background, because yeah, see what's happening is we get this weird issue where it doesn't load the metatile properly, and then when it switches, and then it looks okay after that. Where's the script view here? Alright, so the camera now transitions back, and we're back here, and scroll Y is BE, which is not, a factor of, so there we probably, do we want the FF there? All right, let's do this. I think what we need to do first is we need to go to this and so in the map mode, process all the map stuff. Branch if equal, skip scroll process if it's not. Load A camera Y position, compare branch if equal to this. Oh, okay, so this is where we're doing the, so this is our load new tile row, populate single tile. Okay, and then we should get to skip scroll process. Okay, that's so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move, first of all, let's make sure that that didn't break anything. Load new tile, oh well, yeah, okay. It did break something, but that's okay. So it's because we're reusing the load new tile row stuff. So let's let it process the map normally. And then once we're done processing all of that, then we're going to check the camera position. So we're going to check it if it's 0. After we've done the whole update, we're going to load the screen memory, change the screen memory. We can't do that, can we? Because that's going to break the update. This is almost like what we have to do. So it's like what we have to do then is we have to basically just set it to happen after the draw occurs. I'm going to, let's remove that. You can leave the check screen memory, that's okay. I'm not going to change anything on the screen memory though, because as far as subtracting, because it should be okay. And then what I'm going to do is, instead of messing with meta tile flag, let's leave that alone. We're going to set the background mode to repeat scroll. We're going to set up this stuff. We're going to set up the camera. And that stuff shouldn't affect how the NMI gets updated there. Now, this part obviously would, but what we're going to do is we're going to move this back up and make this part of just the normal map drawing or background drawing because and then let's we want to move that stuff to the map drawing portion of the code, because we just want that to happen as part of the map update, the background update, instead of being a special case. So this is, let's see. This is the, yep. So this is doing, that's the camera stuff. Skip Pete, okay. So we're here. Check screen memory. Now, instead of doing this, we're just going to bring it right in here. And that's what it was calling, right? Load new tile row, yeah. Or jumping to that. So now we're just doing this as part of the standard process of we're loading the new tile row. And I gotta make sure we're not, okay, yep. So that's good. I think all of these are okay now. Skip row process. Still at the towards the bottom, right? Yep. All right. And then, oh, you know what? And then we can even do the check here that if it's already in repeat scroll, it switches back to the map. And then if it's in map, it switches to the repeat scroll. So let's, for now, I'm going to break this temporarily. If I can find the code. That says if the camera switches over to 0 to switch back to the map mode. Let's we'll break that temporarily so that we can eventually make that work with the code that's down there, where it will look at what the current mode is and switch accordingly. And then ultimately that will hopefully be something that will be data driven, where we can make it either switch to another repeat segment or another map segment or whatever we need it to do. This is kind of making more sense now, I think. Branch if equal to this, and then jump, and then anonymous label, and then 745. Same thing here. Our out of range needs to get fixed. Okay. No, another one. What? 147. Okay. Now it's probably broken, but we'll fix it. I mean, in theory, this is kind of the right idea. in terms of making sure that we are transitioning in a way that is a little bit more consistent and not built on special cases that are kind of weirding out the name table loading stuff that's been written. So you can see the map is already fully loaded properly now, and now we're switching to repeat mode. We actually don't need these breakpoints because they're not the same code. Let's see if that stores it there. Let's okay, cool. So that's now back in repeat scrolling mode, and that did that transition nicely. I don't know if you saw what I saw, but so we're loading the map, everything is looking good, and now we're getting to the point where we switched to repeat scroll mode, and it just did it. There was no weirdness there like there was previously. There was that was interesting. The scroll didn't flip 100% correctly, but we can fix that. That was a sort of simple issue here. Would the camera flip back? Oh, maybe, you know what? That scroll issue might have simply been because the camera hit 0 in the repeat scroll mode, and it was just a glitch from not going back to map mode. Nope. That was just weird. Okay. We'll have to look into that, but let's see what happens. So right now we're going to hit 0, and I think we're going to transition right back or continue in repeat scroll mode with the counter repeating itself. Yep. Okay. So let's do this. So now let's make this so that if we are in repeat scroll mode, that we are, okay, so this can go away. Except for this. We want this part because if we're in repeat scroll mode, when we hit camera position 0, that it will switch to map mode and load that properly. So let's go down to the bottom of this part of the code, at least. Okay, so here's where we're checking the camera position. So let's do this. Load a BG mode, compare to background mode map, branch not equal to this, right? Let's say swap to repeat scroll. Let's give it a real label. Swap to repeat scroll, and this is going to be our swap to map. I'm going to comment this out. I don't think we need that. This is going to, let's see, jump to initialize sprites. So jump, initialize sprites. So after it sets up everything for loading the level, it will continue processing like normally. So load a background mode, compare it to map, branch not equal to swap repeat scroll. You know what it's got to do? Load a background mode map, stored into BG mode, because this does the swap to scroll. Okay, so let's see if we now get a swap back and forth like we were getting before, but hopefully without the weird artifacts that we were seeing from some of the incorrect ways we were processing. Oh, that was not correct. It re-swapped to the map. Compare to map, branch not equal to swap to repeat scroll. Okay, so background mode is 1, which is map mode. So, oh, compare 1, branch. What am I doing? It makes so much sense when you talk about it, and then you look at it and you're like, what a dummy. This is just one of those things that happens when you're trying to explain what you're doing at the same time as you're doing it. And I mean, obviously it was a logic error where it wasn't swapping properly, but it was just kind of a, why did it do that? Pretty simple, really. Alright. So now we should swap back when we hit 0 on the camera. Okay. So we've switched to map mode and we are loading the level and initializing the sprites, and there's our map again. And it looks like attributes are good. And the level is loading properly. We're going to get enemies spawning, maybe? Oh. What happened? And now we're back to repeat scroll mode, but with glitches. Yeah, why is it doing that? It's like it gets past, let's see. Is it when it transitions to the bottom? Yeah, it looks like it's transitioning to the bottom name table, and then it's just updating the attributes, but not the name table. I wonder if I mean, I assume that I'm just writing to the wrong screen mem location at this point. 20 2000. C0 22C0 Q2. Oh. Why is it updating that? It's because it's flipped back to the from it didn't. Okay, so it didn't swap to the bottom one. Oh, I wonder if this is because of the logic that we have. Where it's skipping something. If it's repeat scroll mode. Skip attribute swap. Let's get rid of this. And make that 0. That might actually be a problem too where it is, because the attribute swap probably shouldn't happen until no, actually, you know what? We'll leave that as FF. Yeah, let's leave that as FF. That's a case where I wanted to do that swap after we've already rolled over to FF, I'm pretty sure. So now when we switch to the bottom name table, hopefully that'll work right. Well, it's working okay for the attributes, but it's not working okay for the memory. I guess the question is, should we be maybe calling this, just generally speaking? I don't know why. I don't know why that wouldn't have been a problem before, though. So if we go to process map mode, unless in the instances we were testing it never worked and we just didn't know about it, that's entirely possible too. Let's see. 20E0 is for the attributes. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem, isn't it? Because that'll work. 20E0 is where? Oh, that's sorry, that's subtracting it. Subtract 20, so 30, subtract 64, and storing it, and then comparing it to E0, which would happen if it were 0, and then branch of equal to process screen memory, 23A0, that's the, yeah, that's the right base address. If it is 1F, otherwise, What does it do if we were at 2800 and we subtract and go into 27? Okay, so this is wrong. So let's do this. Should be able to just call check screen mem. And then get rid of this. And that should take care of fixing our screen memory updates here, like we're doing in the repeat scroll. So this is good. I mean, we're kind of consolidating things down now too, which is what we want, except that I broke it. That's interesting. Interesting. Well, now it looks like we were seeing this weird issue where the scroll on this didn't match what we were seeing on the screen. I wonder if that's why. All right. Skip attributes. Okay. Load a screen mem +1. Set carry subtract 64. So what does it do for repeat scroll mode? Just want to check because I don't remember. How it processes the screen mem. Let's see, so load new tile row. Oh, branch carry set. Oh, I'm not doing the carry calculation properly, so that would be no good. Store a branch carry. Branch carry set to here. If carry is clear, then we need to decrement screen mem, right? Branch carry set, yep. Okay. So that would fix any problem where we do the subtraction and the carry gets cleared by the fact that we have borrowed, and then okay, that's looking better. Yeah, that's looking almost 100% right. We're still a little out of sync, and then repeat scroll mode has a problem too. Well, that's better. Looks like when we got to the bottom of the screen there, it didn't update the attribute row correctly here. It just left it alone and jumped to the next one. And then as a result, I don't know why it would have done that, but as a result of that, it seems like that created a... Well, I don't even know if it's related to that specifically. It's just, we did see that it didn't update it 100% right. So let's go back before that occurs. And let's go back into it at normal speed. So it didn't update the attributes properly. What I wonder about is if we're seeing the right number of rows after this part. Let's go to the map itself. Remind me later. Actually, this isn't... Is that right? I thought that was just in the water. Oh no, it's okay, so that's actually not too bad. And then we should have 3 rows. Okay, so we're getting an extra row, which is probably why the attributes are wrong too. It's probably that one that's the wrong one, and that's what's messing up everything else. Let's take a look. How would that be possible? And that would kind of put everything out of sync. BE2. Oh, I'm looking at 2 different things. 2B80. A0, 80. So I assume that when we first got into this, it was A0. It's okay. To be 80, so that was the last thing that it updated. Are we facing yet another example of where we're doing it slightly different in the map mode compared to repeat scroll? So it looks like in the map mode, we're adjusting screen memory, the screen memory position at the beginning, checking it, and then processing. And for the repeat scroll, wait a minute. Is this the code I was just modifying? Yeah. Is this the map mode? So this is the map mode. Okay, so we're doing the update of the memory position at the end in map mode, and skip, repeat, scroll, transition. Does anybody use this? No, so this is gone. Let's take a look at this here. So we look at the map mode and compare to repeat scroll branch if equal to there. I'm going to just change this to be an actual label. So process repeat scroll mode. And I just want that so that it's kind of more clear. I know I've got the comment there, but I think that's going to be just sort of more clear. So the first thing we do is we process the memory, and then we do these updates. So let's change this, because again, I think the problem we're running into is the inconsistency of how we are handling this stuff. So we go through, we do all our checks. If we have to populate stuff, we do. And then skip row decrement. That is used here if we're not doing anything. So this is just a pass, basically. We can even, let's just get rid of this and skip row process, basically. Oops, not there. Skip row decrement. Where? What line was that? 728. So yeah, just jump to skip row process. So this is, I think, going to break repeat scroll mode, but I just want it to be working consistently. Oh, it didn't actually break repeat scroll mode. Okay. All right, so now our attribute updates are out of whack. They're a whole meta tile off, but that's probably because we are similarly updating our attribute index differently than the way that the map is doing it. So process map mode. So let's see where it does anything with attribute index. Branch load X, it does this, increments, and then load A, and then it subtracts. So after it's done with whatever, it positions attribute index in the next position it should be in. And flips the attribute mode. So where do we mess with attribute index? Excuse me. So we load it, transfer X to A, clear the carry, add carry 8. Store it. Here we subtract 8. Store. If it's hop half. Otherwise, load a attribute index, subtract, set carry, subtract, store it back, branch carry, set to skip repeat, otherwise set it to 38. But the so let's see. Why is this wrong? Why is it that we're leaving it in a position that when we switch, well, that's kind of interesting. So there should be 3 rows of stuff. The attributes are wrong. I almost wonder if that's not even the issue, the attribute index. Let's go back for a second here. Let's go back. Well, it definitely looks like the attributes are updating and out of sync with the meta tiles. So it's like when we go to transition, we should subtract from attribute index because it's one row too far up. You know what? Why would that not have gotten... Well, I guess it's because, what, the attribute index is set properly for... Yeah, so when we're dealing with the map, the attribute index is set at the current position we want versus the... Okay. Yeah, so this is, again, just being kind of dumb and things are out of sync. So if we load X, that's the attribute index that we want. We shouldn't have to do this add. Although... Well, hold on a second. So we subtract 8 if we're in one portion of it. Okay, that's right. So I forgot. The 8 is... Dear God, what am I doing here? Okay, let me make a comment here, because temp2 is, yeah, calculate our current, our end attribute index. So add a to current So what we're doing is we're taking the attribute index, adding 8, and saying, okay, that's when we're done and we're stopped. Now the problem, let's see. What is the problem? The problem is that we are only subtracting 8 from it if we are updating let me think about that. So we're not, well, that's actually okay, right? Because if we, yeah, that's better than, I mean, what we're doing in the other mode is we're actually incrementing attribute index, and then we have to determine if we're subtracting 8 to get it back to the position it was at originally, or we're subtracting 16 to put it a row behind. So what's happening here? I mean, it looks like what position is this? Well, okay, so we're not on the cusp of dealing with that half row, so that's fine. So in this case, we've transitioned to map mode. We updated this row of attribute data. I assume that we've done that in map mode. So we've updated attributes here, but tile data here. So screen mem is at 22E0. Okay, it sure is, but that's wrong because it should be at 2320. So, or at least that would seem to be the case based on the way the attributes are updated. So let's take a look at this for a second. Let's put breakpoints for put a breakpoint for swap to, wait a minute. What are you doing? Load A, store A, swap to repeat scroll. Jump screen. Did I not go back far enough? Compare to repeat scroll. If it's equal, go to repeat scroll. Otherwise, go to process map mode. So I want to hit the breakpoint when we first go to that. Okay. So we went to that. Memory is at 2300, which is not... I mean, that could be right, but attribute index is 30. And we are essentially, well, 30. 48. So that's only 2 rows from bottom. So the bottom is going to be 38, which is at 2340. Wait, sorry, 2380? Oh no, it would be, where's the attribute grid? That doesn't help me. Okay, so it's because, yeah, so that's okay. But it looks like we're, oh, are we in, it's possible. Let's see, attribute is 30. So that's 48. I don't know why I'm opening calculator again. One, two. So, which bytes are these? So, if we're at 8, 0, 8, 16, 24, 32, 2, screen memory is 2300. So we're here. So that's the last half attribute row. So this is the second to last half attribute row. 2300. So we're updating the bottom portion of the least significant nibble of the byte. But not at 30. It should be. Yeah, okay. 30 is right. Because this would be 38. That would be 38 right there, and then this would be 30. So what is the attribute mode? So we're taking the attribute index value and ANDing it against that, so the most significant byte is set. Let me just make sure that I'm not misremembering that, like I always do. Okay, so the top, right, and left are the least significant. So 2300 is here. So we'd be updating the lowest portion of that. And our attribute mode is F0, so we would be preserving whatever the upper nibble is. So let's see here, what's going on. Oh. Let's scroll counter. Why is it doing this? I don't like that. increment the camera counter. Camera counter speed. Okay. Alright, that's fine. But scroll counter was probably wrong. Right? Because scroll counter... I don't know that ever got reinitialized. It's probably... Did it get set in load level? Okay, it did. Alright. So... let's get past this finally. Why aren't you calling the other code? Compare to 0 branch. Oh. This is way at the end. I'm looking at the wrong thing. What is going on? Repeat scroll mode, process map mode, process map, increment scroll counter, check objects, done with objects, load a meta tile flag, scroll, skip row process, branch of equal to increment. Okay, that's what I wanted it to do. I don't know why. I was having a hard time setting that properly. Let's go back and rewind this again. Okay, so we hit breakpoint, hopefully. When we switch over, okay. So we've switched over. We have a row there. Screen mem is 2300, which is what here? I guess I would have preferred that it be 22E0, but I don't know that I care about that right now, other than that it's consistent. So 2300 is where we are updating now, and the map mode, the attribute mode is at saying F0. So let's see, so 2800 is here, this is our half row, this is the next row, that should be 30 as our attribute index, and that's fine. So when we go through and process this, so it actually scroll counter 8, attribute index 30, 2300, okay. So we reset the scroll counter. We've rebuilt, we've got mtile y. Load mtile set carry subtract 2. Store it. If it's FE, roll over into negatives. So, okay, so we're into the next metatile row, which is correct. So load it to 2 and store it, and then tell it that we're updating the attributes. Load a row mem. Set carry. What is row mem? Subtract number of metatiles in a row. Okay, so the next part of the map. Load the metatile flag, add bit 2, store that back, load Y, store it into our tile counter. And now we are going to set up things for actually handling the tiles. So what is this doing? It's taking tile counter, dividing it by 2, and then checking to see skip inline attribute right. Grab the attribute index. Why would we skip that? Yeah, why are we skipping the attribute update? We would want to do that at this point. So now we're updating tiles, but not the attributes. Looks that way. Tile counter. So let's see if we are not initializing tile counter properly. So that's not being set there. Well, that's set for a new row to 0, but why? And 1. Branch if equal to skip inline attribute right. Grab the attribute index so we can pull the current attribute buffer value. Mask against the attribute mode, which wipes the bits we don't care about. Save the mask value. Load the left 2 bits. Store. Store into temp our final destination. Load right 2 bits. Shift into position. Load attribute mode, compare it to bottom half. So this is what, if we are in a situation where we are having to shift some things around. I don't remember. Pull metatile value back off the stack. Did we actually push it? We had jumped from where? From there? That might be a problem. Oh, actually, okay, it looks like we pushed it there. Load a metatile flag, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we have, that's okay as far as the stack not being messed up by doing that. Transfer A to X. That's our metatile. So we find the actual metatile value and then multiply by 4 to figure out which, where the location is in all of the metatiles. And then we add to it to find out which part of the metatile we are looking at, which is the bottom row of it. Transfer that back to transfer that over to X, and push the metatile index. Load Y with tile counter, and now we're just loading the tile values into new tiles. We're still writing to 2300. Except that we're not, are we? Because we're going to likely be decrementing that here momentarily. No more metatiles. Load metatile flag and with 1 branch of equal to skip attributes. So if we don't have one set, then we're skipping attributes. So let's see what we've got here once we progress to that. So we're not skipping attributes. Attribute mode is F0, which is top half. Wait, what? Oh, it's bottom half. I hate these. I hate attributes. All right, so new attribute buffer row. We're going to load attribute index. Set to carry, subtract, compare, store A into attribute index mode. Oh, so it actually decremented our attribute index, but that was the one that we were going to be updating correctly, but now it's wrong. And we've switched attribute, switching the attribute mode interesting. So when we go to, this is our NMI processing. We use attribute index to, well, we don't even use attribute index there because we just blast the whole attribute buffer in. Where can I jump to? Where's the instruction counter? E736. So we have, if this is 0, then flag wasn't set. And we can skip modifying the attributes. Or that is weird. That seems wrong because we're not doing any comparison. We're just always doing that. I want to take a look back at this code here for a moment. Because I'm a little confused about the way, if that is actually how it worked before or what. Let's go skip attributes. Okay. Yeah, it did work that way before. It's just odd that I'm making it jump there. There's no point. So this is doing this is doing jumps, and that's fine, but this is obviously not really necessary. And then skip attributes does that. So where is it actually populating attribute buffer? It's doing that here in the inline. Is it doing that when we're loading? So let's see. So for the meta tile, and 1 branch if equal. So if oh, huh. Okay, so the problem is that it's making, that makes sense. It makes sense why it's wrong. It's just not logical, or it's not correct. So what's happening is the logic here is saying, okay, if I'm in the process of drawing my map and I've got a bunch of attributes that potentially need to be updated, potentially don't need to be updated. If this is one set of attributes here, like right here, I only need to update the attributes if I'm drawing this part of the meta tile. And the reason is because for scrolling upwards, we're going to be hitting the meta tile from the bottom. So if we're over here, then naturally scrolling up, we would have already set the attributes here. But that's not the case when we do the repeat scroll. So it doesn't bother to set the attributes there. So that explains at least that part of it. Now the question is, let me back up for a second. The question is, then, what do we do about that, obviously? Maybe we set some sort of force on that particular case, but are we actually seeing that 100%? It's almost like we're let's see. So we got that's the last repeat row. And the next thing we're doing is we're going to draw the map row. Okay. So we drew the map row, but then we updated the wrong attribute row. The attribute row that it should be updating, I mean, there are a couple of things, right? So the attribute row, so that's actually wrong. That's actually more wrong than I thought. Although, well, yeah, because this part is already on screen at this point. So what we would want to be doing is updating 22E0. Now, why... At this point, when we switch over, swap to repeat scroll, swap to... Or swap to... that's swapping to repeat scroll. This is doing the map load. So 23C0, but that would only be if param3 is not set, I believe. Downloading sets all of this stuff. Wait a minute, go back to the beginning here. So screen mem. So it's just you know what, it's probably skipping that part based on param3's settings, now that I think about it. Let's take a look. I think that's what we had done. We had implemented it so whatever screen mem was set to, it just left it alone. But if param3 was set, it also jumps out of here. It does an RTS before we even get to the part where we're dealing with screen mem. So let's see. So we do all this stuff here. So at 143 we do our RTS, and then screen mem is, yeah, so that's way further down, so we're not touching that. So we just have the wrong address there. The reason we'd have the wrong address is probably because, let's see. We're at a point where we're good to start updating things, so we tell it, okay, meta tiles get updated. So we're going to draw a new row, load new tile row, so we do that, we process the single tile stuff. We do our attribute stuff. We don't have to do attribute stuff in this case, right? Because flip the bit for the new row, store it into BG tile, branch if equal. So if it's 0, load a BG tile and 2, so we only care about bit 2, and then if it's 0, we're at the top row, which means we don't have to update the attribute. Yeah, okay, so we don't have to update the attribute, so we would skip this part, and we'd say, okay, next Next row in memory by subtracting 32 and then moving on. So that's interesting. 2300, huh? Oh no, it's 22E0? Well, that's only because I think we let's do this. Where's BG mode? A3. Oh, that's the address, right? That's what I was looking for, but okay, so it is currently 1, which puts us at map. Okay, so it's already transitioned to map here. Let's back up until we're in repeat scroll, shall we? Okay, we're in repeat scroll. Okay, so that little jump was we switched to map. So let's take a look at our memory. We're at 2300. Attribute index is 30. Attribute mode is F0. So we're going to update. We're going to update the background at 2300, which is problematic because it's already on screen. But why wouldn't it have been the next one already? So I mean, it would be doing that update of screen mem every time, wouldn't it? Can I step backwards? I can. I forgot if that was an option or not. Okay. So what's it scroll Y at? Scroll Y is at C6. So that's bits 2 and 4. So that's not gonna... Really? But camera is 0. See, that shouldn't happen. Scroll Y. Is it because this needs to be... Decrement, scroll Y, load scroll Y. If it's FF, then we do BG mode swap, and then we make scroll Y 239. 239 is EF. But that's, yeah, that should be 240, shouldn't it? Because what? Because, well, no. because we were at 0, which would be the very bottom, and then we would want to go, okay, now that's fine. But that's weird, because we should be at a point where not only are we transitioning because the camera is 0, but the scroll should be in a similar situation. How far off is this? Is it just off by 1? Scroll Y is C6. And it's off by 2 because it should basically be 200. I guess that comes down to when we hit repeat scroll mode and we initialize that, what is scroll Y set to? So let's see. Make this go at fast speed because I don't care about what's happening until we get to this transition. So what is the value of scroll Y? That is the address of scroll Y. The value is 40. Wait, let's take a look. Is the address 40? Or, okay, so the value is 90. And that would work. So now, let's see, and then the camera position is 1B0, so that's all good. How do they get out of sync like that? Let's see. So scroll Y is 90, and camera, where is the camera? It is 1B0. So we're subtracting from that. I wonder if we ever hit this condition. And that might cause it. Let's see. Okay, so scroll Y became FF. Camera is, yeah, that would be a problem because now we have 120 and we're making this 239. And 239, not in hex. Well, but no, because then the camera also gets decremented by 1. So now they're similarly out of sync, or similarly in sync again. So that's fine. Now we are switching to map mode. Scroll Y is don't need a huge calculator, thank you. C6 and camera 6C, very clever. Camera is 0. Should I add scroll Y to my script? Because something is not adding up. The only thing I can think of is that the amount of repeating we're doing is somehow messing things up. But at the same point, we're setting it to 1B0. Right, so that's that, and then we're going to divide that by 240. That was brilliant. 1B0, 432. I guess that could be it. 432 divided by 240. It's not an even count. So, in fact, 240 times 240 times 1.8, 432, 430 divided by 240, no. What am I trying to figure out here? If we have 1B0, is not a factor of 240. We can do 480. 1E0. Let's see if that reconciles the problem. If it's because we're getting some sort of fractional layout here. So that's going to be exactly 2 full screens. Let's see here. Repeat scroll. Okay, so that's still good. So let's just run that until we hit to repeat scroll mode. So scroll Y is 90. The camera is 0, so it's going to be 1E0. Let's see what happens when we switch back to the map mode. Right, so scroll Y is 9.6. Except the camera is still... Right, so 2240. 2240 for screen. Really? 2240, that's there. I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't like that we're getting to a situation where scroll Y is not aligned with our 8 pixel offset, because then what's happening is we are Let's see. Oh, I didn't even realize this. What is this doing? Oh, yeah. Do I want to do this? Probably not anymore. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to stop here because I'm kind of done. That might explain why we were seeing weird behavior with scroll Y not being consistent. And some of that was down to I was trying to force it to, or maybe that's a symptom of the inconsistency. I was trying to force scroll Y to match the positioning of the name table, but that may have just caused other weird behavior here, or who knows. Like I said, I'm kind of done here. I'm not sure. I'm tired and frustrated by this. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here because I'm done. Once again, attributes have frustrated me, and I'm thinking there's something still, as best as I can figure it, there's still some sort of problem with the way that we're synchronizing the scrolling process, that it should naturally fall in line with the way that we're updating the memory for the name table for the background, but it's not, and that is what's causing the problem. That and the fact that the camera is somewhat off as well, and the two happening together at the same time are causing this this sort of mysterious behavior. So we'll get to that on Thursday. But as always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Clairvis. I'm on Nintendo Age as Zelius. I try to answer all the questions and comments that come in on these recordings on YouTube. And yeah, join me on Thursday at 9 Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we will live stream me struggling through this once again. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one. See ya.